This episode is sponsored by Hustle. I recently heard about Hustle, which is a free tool that I know is going to be a total game changer for all of you. Hustle is a mobile app that gathers orders from all of your sales platforms, such as Shopify, Etsy, Amazon, and eBay, prioritises them, finds you the best shipping deal, and allows you to print off your shipping labels all without leaving the app. I actually spoke with the founders of Hustle recently, and I instantly understood the value, and I just knew I wanted to shout about it. As many of you know, I started my own brand from home and it completely changed my life. Now my goal is to help you do the same, which is why I'm so excited to be sharing a tool I know will do just that. Hustle ensures you'll spend less time juggling admin and more time growing your business. Download Hustle from the link in the show notes and you'll also be able to get £5 off your shipping fees with an exclusive offer just for listeners of this podcast. Hello, welcome to Bring Your Product Idea to Life. Super excited for today's episode because it is a catch-up episode. I love doing catch-ups. This is where I speak to guests who joined me for a main episode a few years ago. So today I'm speaking to some of my wonderful guests from 2022, 3 years ago, can you believe it? And find out what they're doing now, what's changed since they were last on the podcast. So today we are speaking to Kresse Wesling from Elvis Kresse. We're speaking to Marika Syed from Snackzilla and Emma Sims from Soulstar Sanctuary. I'm going to link to all of their original episodes in the show notes. If you want to go and get their full story, you can do that there. If you are not already watching this, you might want to know that the full interviews, the full catch-up interviews, and I say full, they're all really brief, they're all under 10 minutes, they're available for you to watch on YouTube now. So if you're not already watching on YouTube, do go over and watch. If you are watching, please click the thumbs up and tell me that you liked it, because that's always really good. As ever, please do rate, please do review, please do subscribe. And now let's get on with the episode. Welcome to the Bring Your Product Idea to Life podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're getting started selling products or if you'd like to create your own product to sell. I'm Vicky Weinberg, a product creation coach and Amazon expert. Every week, I share friendly, practical advice as well as inspirational stories from small businesses. Let's get started. The first guest I'm speaking to on this episode is Kresse Wesling from Elvis Kresse. Let's listen to Kresse's introduction for herself she gave us originally in her very first interview.
Sure. My name is Kresse Wesling. I'm the co-founder of Elvis Kresse. Our business essentially does three things. We rescue materials that would otherwise go to landfill. We transform them into beautiful things. And then we donate 50% of the profits to charity. So the line we're most known for is decommissioned fire hoses. We collect the fire hoses that are too damaged to repair or have reached the end of their health and safety life. We make those into luggage, wallets, belts, and accessories. And then 50% of the profits goes to the firefighters' charity.
I originally spoke to Kresse right at the end of 2022. We spoke a lot about the growth of her business and how she was balancing the impact her business was having with the growth of the business. So I then caught up with her in May 2025, and I'm going to share that conversation with you now so we can see what she's been up to since we last spoke. I would also like to let you know that Kresse works and was called on this episode from a working farm, so you are going to hear a little bit of background noise, so apologies for that in advance. So the first question is, what's changed for your business since we last spoke, which is 2.5 years ago now?
Wow, 2.5 years ago. Well, we had probably just settled into the new workshop on the farm. And I think we have effectively over the last 2.5 years watched everything grow up around us and been spending a lot of time helping that by building soil biology. We've also, as a business, extended our product range, and mostly we've been welcoming all kinds of people and all kinds of groups to the farm to explain how our regenerative journey is progressing. So I think the biggest change is probably just in the conversation that we're having and in the way that we're operationalizing being a regenerative business.
That makes sense. And did you say so people are able to come and look around the farm and see what you're doing and understand?
Yes, absolutely. And we do it in lots of different ways, but probably we have workshop and farm tours that people can book onto and schedule into. People sometimes drop in. People come for a weekend experience or workshop days. We're hosting one of those this Friday. And we also have people who decide to come down in groups. So we've hosted all kinds of corporate leadership teams or environmental philanthropists and various different kinds of environmental activists, farming groups, literally anything that you can imagine, people who are curious about what regeneration looks like and how you can make decisions and take action to take your company down that sort of road and into making lots of wonderful environmental and social progress.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And what do your workshops look like? Are those for people who want to get involved in regeneration, or what do they involve?
So there's a couple of options. We have design your own workshops where people come and work on producing their own piece to an Elvis Kresse template. So they look through all of our rescued leathers, they pick out the colors they like, they cut out the pieces, they weave them together. So over the course of that day, you would learn everything about how we make a bag, where the raw materials come from, why it's important to rescue them. On the workshop and farm tours, we generally start outside and go through all of the things that we're doing to practice, chemical-free regenerative agriculture, from composting to our wetland system. And then we come into the workshop and go through all of our materials and how we make the products. Then in some of the groups where people come from a whole day, we might be doing a vine review or a bird count or something like that. So it literally depends on the group and what they're up to. We've also hosted a couple of really interesting dinners and did a film screening of 6 Inches of Soil, which was absolutely amazing.
That's fantastic. And has anything changed in regards to the materials you're using or the products that you're creating from them?
Not at the moment, not yet. We're still, I think that's something that we've innovated products themselves, but we haven't introduced over the last 2 years any new materials to our stable. So we're still working with decommissioned fire hoses and rescued leather and failed parachutes and printing blankets and T-sack. Those are still the main raw materials.
And obviously there's so much you can do with those materials as well, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a question of design. I mean, if you think of most luxury businesses work exclusively with 4 raw materials, leather, cotton, wool, and cashmere. So we actually have a bigger basket of goods to start with.
We do. And my second question for you is, what's your number one piece of advice for other product creators, and has it changed since we last spoke?
I mean, I'd have to probably look back and see what I said originally, but maybe it's to question the concept itself. If you are going to make something and it isn't going to make the world better for other people's grandchildren, then maybe you have to think again. So I guess I would always get people to go back to the beginning and really question why they're going to make something new. And if there is no purpose to it beyond, cultural creative expression, maybe in the polycrisis that we're facing in this interesting time, maybe that's not a good enough starting point for design. I think that we all need more from it and demand more from it. So if it's going to be circular, if it's going to be innovative, if it's going to push a new fashion system forward into, being birthed, then great and go for it. But if it's just an updated version of jeans, then maybe not so interesting.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to do this update with me.
No problem. Lovely to chat, Vicky.
So next up, I'm going to speak to Marika from Snackzilla. So here's Marika's original introduction when we first spoke back in 2022.
Yes, so I'm Marika and I am the founder of Snackzilla, which is a brand new kids healthy snack brand aimed at kind of 5 to 11-year-olds, so primary school age. And we launched last year with a range of soft-baked oat cookies that are kind of ideal for lunch boxes and after-school snacking.
So when I originally spoke to Marika, we spoke a lot about the idea for Snackzilla, where that came from, about the process of developing a food product, getting stocked in supermarkets and all that involved. So now, 3 years on, we're going to find out what Marika's doing now. So hi, and thank you for coming back to talk to me.
Hi Vicky, how are you?
Really good, thank you. Well, thank you, as I say, for coming back and giving us a bit of an update. So can you please tell us what's been going on with your business since we last spoke 3 years ago?
Was it 3 years ago? Oh my
It
gosh.
really was.
Feels like yesterday. So I decided at the end of last year that I was going to move away from the business. So I've been doing Snackzilla, has been around now for 7 years. And over that time, there's obviously been significant amount of changes in the world. And those have all obviously impacted the business. And I've decided after 7 years that it was time to move on to something else. And yes, so the brand will be
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're cutting in and out. The picture's frozen, and I can't hear you I can't hear you at all now. Okay, are you still able to hear me?
Oh, I think I've lost you. So I decided at the end of last year that I was going to step away from the business. So I've been doing Snackzilla now for 7 years, and obviously a lot has changed in the world over those 7 years. And yeah, I decided it was time for me to look for something different. It was just becoming increasingly difficult to make the business profitable and to grow the business in the way that I wanted to grow it. And so, yeah, I found someone, thankfully, that wanted to continue the brand and buy the trademark. So, yeah, it's all in the transition process at the moment now of passing it on to a new owner.
That's amazing. And is that, if you don't mind me asking, is that someone with an existing food brand or someone taking it on from new, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, they're an existing food company that own a number of brands. So they have, the expertise, the experience in this world. They have the staffing, the resources, they have the operations team and a sales team and social media person who can just take the brand under their wings and, yeah, hopefully try and grow it and use their experience to make it easier, I guess, than me trying to do it on my own. So I think it's going to be in safe hands.
Oh, that's amazing. And if you don't mind me asking one follow-up question, how did you go about finding a buyer? Was that something you went out and looked for, or did they approach you and the timing just happened to work?
Yeah, I went out and looked. I spent about 3 months looking for people and just asking people in the industry if they knew of anyone who was looking for brands at the moment. So having lots of conversations and networking, really. I knew that the brand had potential. So I knew I didn't want the brand to just die away after spending so much time and money on building a brand. And I knew someone would see the value in that. So yeah, it was just luck really that I got introduced to the right person who obviously saw the potential in the brand as well and wanted it. So yeah, it was just a lot of networking to find the right person and a bit of luck, I guess, that it just happened at the right time.
Well, thank you. And I hope you don't mind me asking. It's just that I know that there may be someone listening who's in a similar situation who maybe feels that they've taken their business as far as they can, but isn't sure what to do next, and may not have thought that selling the brand was an option. So that I hope you don't mind me asking those questions because, you never know who might benefit from hearing that. And I'm really pleased to hear that you're happy that the brand's in safe hands now as well.
Yeah, no, I really can see that it's going to thrive in their hands. So fingers crossed.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for giving us the update. I've got one final question for you, which is, and this is a question you'll be familiar with. I asked you this last time we spoke. What would be your number one piece of advice for other product creators?
I think the experience I've had over the last 7 years with Snackzilla has taught me that don't be afraid to pivot. What you should be afraid of is getting stuck. And so, especially with lots of brands that I mentor and support, I can see that they are wedded to an idea and they love it and they're passionate about it and it can become your baby. But actually, sometimes you need to step away, listen to the feedback from your users, look at the data and see where something isn't working, and not be afraid to completely throw it out and move on and adapt and pivot to something new. And I think we are constantly taught as entrepreneurs that you've got to have grit and perseverance with something, and you've got to stick it out, and eventually it will work out. But sometimes that's not the best course of action. Sometimes it's actually braver to say, actually, it's not working, listen to your gut and go, right, let's just completely change it up and see if something else works quicker. So yeah.
That's brilliant advice. Thank you. Because you're right. There's a lot out there about sticking the course, and if you work hard enough, it'll pay off. But I think that is the case. However, it doesn't mean that you have to do things the way you've always done them in order for that to be true.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Marika. I really appreciate you sharing your update with us and letting us know what's been going on, and of course your advice. So thank you so much, and good luck with what you're doing next.
Thank you so much, Vicky.
And finally, I'm speaking to Emma Sims from Soulstar Sanctuary. So here is Emma introducing herself right back at the beginning of 2022.
So I'm an energy healer, a crystal therapist, and I'm also an intuitive guide. And I have a sanctuary called the Soulstar Sanctuary here in Tunbridge Wells. So it's a practice, well, it's a Reiki practice really for children and adults. So they come here and they have a beautiful treatment, whether they're suffering from anxiety or stress or just really in need of having a sort of energetic recharge. So yeah, it's just a beautiful space that I hold for people to come and enjoy that experience. And recently, well, probably a couple of years ago, that's when I started to actually do my products as well. But just as an add-on really to the healing service that I was given to people, and it just seemed to really work. So I've kind of expanded from there.
So as you would have understood from Emma's introduction, at the time we spoke, Emma had a service business predominantly, so she was an energy healer, but she had just introduced a range of products that she was selling mainly to the clients that came to see her in her sanctuary, but also on Etsy and her website to support the work that she was doing. So I caught up with Emma 3 years later, and let's hear what she's doing now. So I would love to know what's changed since we last spoke.
Yeah, I think probably last time I was promoting my products quite a bit more than I am now. What I found is that I sell a lot of the products through my sanctuary. So when people come for a treatment, they actually buy the product. I've I've kind of gone that way, I think, more because people wanted more bespoke product making. So they wanted things that maybe were for anxiety, depression, to help them sleep. And also because the market suddenly became quite saturated with natural products. And, you had to have all these certificates and all these different bits and pieces in order to actually get the product marketed correctly. So yeah, I kind of sell them more through my business, I'd say now.
Well, that makes sense. So people come in to see you for different things and then they buy a product that suits them, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So they're more bespoke.
And are you making bespoke products for people, or is it more that because people are coming to see you, you can advise them a bit more on what might be useful?
Yeah, so for example, children would come for a treatment, for an energy treatment, and they might be struggling with sleep, they might be struggling at school. So I'd work out what oils would be worth actually blending together based on what they actually need. So for anxiety, you'd use geranium. For sleep, maybe cedarwood, natural sedative. So depending on what it is that they need, something calming, maybe lavender as well, just to help them feel a bit more calm, and rosemary for grounding. So I kind of I've made it a bit more of an alchemy situation, I guess, where people come and I just tune into their energy, their vibration, and then go, right, I think you need this oil. Because people don't come to me specifically just for the products, they come to me for the Reiki treatment. And then on top of that, I recommend an oil if I feel it's needed, or if it's something that they maybe would like to investigate. So it's not that they're for sale and, I'm sort of pushing it on them in any way. It's more bespoke to them.
That's really nice. That's much more personal. And
Yeah, exactly.
when we spoke before, you had your Etsy store. Do you still have that, or is that not really going anymore?
Yeah, I do have the Etsy store. But again, that's something that I've not really been promoting. I think I've just been so busy working one-to-one with clients that I've not invested the energy and time into that, because suddenly when I started doing my products and they sold really well, and they were getting a lot of traction and interest, there suddenly seemed to be quite a lot of similar products that came onto the market at the same time. So in order for me to really stand out, I had to put a lot of investment and time and energy into making that really work. And to be honest with you, Vicky, I had to take priority over actually running my business and doing the treatments in person rather than doing just focusing on the products. And it seemed to be that I sold more products when I saw people in person than I did through my Etsy shop, because the Etsy is just saturated, absolutely saturated. So whereas once people could find my products, they couldn't really find them unless I actually steered them towards that website.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that it does make sense that people want to buy from you in person because they've met you, they've had a treatment, they've got
Yes.
an understanding of you. Because these sorts of products, like you said, there are a lot of them out there. And I mean this in a really nice way. It's really hard to know which one's for you, what's going to do something for you, because with natural oils and things, you could come out in a rash. You could discover that actually the
Yes.
smell just, you really can't handle it because it's quite strong smelling. It's actually a really hard product to buy online, I think.
Yeah, it really is. And I think a lot of that is smell. So say like when you go to those little pop-up stalls or you go to the markets and you see the products, you smell the products, you have to really smell them. I mean, I try and be quite descriptive when I talk about them as well, when I used to sort of sell them on the Etsy shops. But it's more that people, yeah, exactly. They need to feel the oil, need to smell it, and the way that I blend them as well is all infused with the Reiki energy. So the product is fresh, and it's a very powerful, high concentrated blend.
And are you making them for people before they come, or are you making them like after the treatment for them to come and pick up? I'm just curious at how that works.
Yeah, so how it works is they come for a treatment normally, and then after that, I'd make them an oil. Or if they were coming and I knew that they were struggling with their anxiety, or they'd had a loss, um, I'd say to them, I've made you a small bottle of oil that you can try. No obligation. If you'd like to have a larger bottle, I can make one for you. Or sometimes I just, make them a bigger one and give it to them. It's probably a lot of that, if I'm honest. I end up giving my products away, but they do come back indirectly. So people go, oh, I smelt the oil that Rachel had and I really liked it. And would you make one for me? So, it all works out in the end. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say generally it's more that people come for a treatment than I make them for them after.
And I got that. Do you know what? I think it's really lovely, and I don't think you should feel because it sounds like then you're thinking that you shouldn't be giving them away, but actually, whatever works for you, because it sounds like it's making
Yeah.
you really happy the way that you're doing things at the moment, and that's the main
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it's more it gains more traction when it's word of mouth rather than actually putting them in stores and trying to get them. I think if it was my sole business, I would go all out and really make things put the oils out in the moonlight and really try and market it in a very different way. But it needs a lot, you need to put a lot of energy and time into it for not a huge amount of monetary gain. So now I just do it from a place of, what the treatments and the experiences that people have when they come to my sanctuary are the most important thing. And the oils are a, a beautiful add-on, really, for a reminder of the treatment.
That makes sense. I mean, it would be easy to forget that obviously, like you say, this is just something you're doing on top of your treatments, which is your main business.
Mm,
So, yeah,
mm.
it's not absolutely, you absolutely can't be spending all of your time on selling them because you have your other business to run. But they blend together so
Yes.
beautifully, though. That's what's really nice. I think I remember when we spoke the first time that your story was a really nice one of how you have a service and products that work
Mm.
just so well together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still the same. It's still that, sometimes the children will come and I'll say to the mum, oh, can they stay on an extra 15 minutes so they can make a rollerball? And they're like, oh yeah, of course, so and the children choose the oils themselves. So that's all by vibration. So it's actually quite a a nice experience for the child to actually experience the oils that choose them, and then blend them into like a crystal rollable or a rollable that they then get to take away and keep. And they're really powerful because the feedback that I've had from those rollables, the children can take them in their bags into school, put them on when they're feeling a bit anxious or having a bit of a wobble before an exam, and they're really effective.
Well, that's brilliant. And when we last spoke, Emma, I asked you to give me your number one piece of advice for other product creators. You don't need to remember what you said then, because that was a very long time ago. But what would your number one piece of advice be now, do you think?
I think it's probably the same as last time. I remember what I said was just to dive in, because that's what I do a lot, is just
That's
jump
good
in and do
advice.
it. I think the thing is you do need to research. I mean, I didn't research the market. I worked out whether or not you could make the oils and sell them and what they needed to be in, and to use distilled water. Some people use alcohol. I didn't want to use alcohol. So I think definitely do your research. Don't just jump in. Do your research and then jump in. But yeah, I would really say do your research and think about your edge. Think about what your, not just your USP, but your edge, what really sets you apart in the market, and go for that, believe in it, and trust it. And good branding, definitely good branding.
Well, that's great advice. Thank you. I think you're the first person I've spoke to whose advice hasn't changed. And I think that's a really good thing because it shows that how strongly you stand by that. And I'm with you as well, by the way. I think there's obviously we need to all do, make sure, as you said, do your research and look into things properly. There's also a lot to be said for starting, isn't there? And just
Hmm.
giving something a go. So I think that's brilliant advice. Thank you, Emma.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes we hold back. And actually, if you just tried it, just tested it on your friends, on, people that are coming into your businesses anyway, and just try it and get the feedback. That's the only way you know, isn't it?
Definitely. Oh, thank you. So that is it. Thank you so much to Kresse, Marika, and Emma for speaking with me again and kindly giving up their time. I really hope you enjoyed hearing these updates as much as I did. I love doing these episodes. I love hearing what people are doing after we've spoken. 3 years might not sound like a long time, but it kind of is. And as you've probably got from this episode, a lot has happened. So of course we'll continue to do these. And if there are any guests that you're very interested in, anyone you've heard me speak to and you think, oh, I wonder what they're up to now, do let me know and I'll do my best. And of course, remember to always follow our amazing guests on social media, which is a great place to find out what they're doing now. If you haven't already, please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, and I will see you back next week with another interview. Thank you so much for listening right to the end of this episode. Do remember that you can get the full back catalogue and lots of free resources on my website, vickyweinberg.com. Please do remember to rate and review this episode if you've enjoyed it, and also share it with a friend who you think might find it useful. Thank you again, and see you next week. Hi, this is just a little note to say if you've enjoyed this episode, or indeed any of the episodes, and you would like to, I don't know, buy me a coffee or something, you can actually now leave tips. So there's a link to how to do this in the show note. Of course, do not feel obliged to do this. This is a free podcast. This will always be a free podcast. But as I say, if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that via the link in the show notes.